District Advisory Building Committee meeting via Zoom for the Portland Public Schools. It is Thursday, May 20th at 6 p.m. I'm going to first and foremost take attendance, and we'll start with board member or Russell Vetter.
Oops, here.
Thank you. Jess Marino.
Here.
Okay. Matt Winch.
Here.
Hello. Abby Fuller.
Here.
Okay. Chair Figdor.
Here.
Okay. And Jane Norris, who is one of our public members, has let us know that he cannot make it, as well as Paul Stevens. I don't see Mr. Brad Post or Councilor Dion or Councilor Ray. And I believe that accounts for everybody. So hopefully someone's taking attendance. And I see Councilor Ray coming in now, so we'll welcome her. Good evening, Belinda. Hi. Hi, Doug. Okay, and we have Superintendent Batana, as well as our Harriman friends, Lisa and Mark and Emily. And I think that's captured everybody. So first and foremost, we will do the meeting minutes approval from April 15th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that Emily?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Matthew Lynch.
Okay.
Are there any questions on the meeting minutes? Any errors or omissions? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the DABC meeting from April 15th, please indicate. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimous with all those present. And I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent, or Mark Lee.
I will turn it over to Mark.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you all. So we have a brief agenda tonight. I guess there's a brief in that the material's a lot of updates, but most of the updates at this point are some of a milestone or schedule nature. And so we'll kind of walk through what those are. So we'll start with Lyseth, and then Longfellow, Reiche, and Presumpscot. And then we'll kind of look briefly at what our next upcoming steps are. So the first one up is Lyseth, and the areas that are complete are the everything but that orange color, the phase 3B, which is in progress, and we're really waiting for school to finish up before that gets going in earnest. And so that's we've actually closed out, or nearly closed out, finally the other portions of the work, and so pretty excited to be really on the last phase of the Lyseth project. It's pretty exciting. And that one will sort of feel like the rest of the school is transformed when we have the updates to finishes throughout the hallways and some of the few remaining transformation of spaces. So pretty exciting to finally be at that point. It's great to walk through the building. We're looking at a few graphic samples that are going in the hallways earlier this week, and just really exciting to see the way the school is being used now. And so that should be wrapped up here at the end of the summer. Some pictures of what those look like. So these are pictures of the kindergarten wing. We have this was before we moved all the furniture back in, just as we were completing our punch list, our review of the work that was done. So you can see the new casework, the new tack spaces, the writing walls, and so while the windows are the same, just about every other, and the walls many of the walls, the corridor walls are the same, but a lot of it feels like a fresh new space. And so that's the lower right is the wall where we have the toilet room, and we have sink and counters, and then you can see the cubbies too on the right hand side of that picture. Those are also so those cubbies run along the corridor wall, which on the left hand picture they kind of are against the wall and run to the corner. Outside of the classrooms, I mentioned that we were looking at graphics that are going on some of the spaces, so that this is that classroom node that identifies the kindergarten wing, and so it's that orange at the upper right hand corner. That's the classroom node where where it shows the pop of color there and some softening, and you can just see a little sneak of a counter that is a work surface at one height, and then it comes down and becomes a seat at the lower height. And so this is an area to do some breakout work or one-on-one that can happen right there. We have some chairs that are going to come and they'll tuck underneath the counter, and it's a nice way to break it up. And behind the wall where the counter is, or in the distance of it, you can see it's kind of thickened, and that was a place to store laptop storage carts. And so we really designed those to become a little nook in the wall that you can park them in and recharge them. So they're kind of tucked away neatly. What you can't see from the photo also on the right-hand side is a full wall of tack surface, so you can pin up student work. So it's really, really exciting for students to be able to kind of identify the idea that we have different colors for every grade level, so they can immediately identify. The color in the graphic will help them immediately identify this is, our place in the building, and really provides that way of centering and building a community around their identity and their location in the building.
The other fun thing that we did was come up with themes for the graphics. And so we presented 2 themes to Lenore and her team, and they chose native plants of Maine. And so it's a different native plant for each one of the nodes. So the kids can not only recognize the color, but start to learn about native plants of the area as well.
Great. Just a couple other quick updates on Lyseth. We had 4 furniture bids, so we put out the bids for the kindergarten wing for new furniture for that, and we're just reviewing those to make the award and get those ordered, so those can be brought into the spaces. So those are we collaborated with the staff to really target furniture that would support their teaching and learning that happens in those early years. So that's exciting to see that coming. And we are targeting our next DABC meeting on June 17th for a tour of Lyseth. So we hope everyone can make that. We should be in good shape to be able to take a walk through and see all the transformations for those who haven't seen it firsthand. And planning a ribbon cutting for the fall, for September or early October. And so that's kind of just in the early phases of that. Any questions on Lyseth before Lisa, I think, is going to give us kind of a quick update on all the happenings with Longfellow here?
Absolutely. So Lyseth update. So this is Lyseth Longfellow. Perfect. The Longfellow update, the school board voted to ratify the contract with Blaine Casey on May 4th. And on that same day, we received planning board approval. And we've had several meetings with Principal Terry Young and to review the phasing and moving plans and really making sure that they have all their questions answered about when do they need to pack up, where are things going, what's happening when. So we have I think we've had 2 or 3 meetings already at this point. We're out walking the site today with the contractor to look at logistics around parking and play areas and things like that, to really look at how they're going to coexist on this site for the next several years. The district's facility group, the owner's rep, and ourselves, we meet on a weekly basis at this point to make sure everything is coordinated, getting ready for construction. And we did have the pre-construction meeting on May 13th. That's where we go over logistics, making sure that we're very clear on lines of communication, what each of the team members' responsibilities are, and how we make this a successful project as possible. And we will look to everyone to start planning a groundbreaking with the BLACs and the DABC in the fall. So we're looking at doing a groundbreaking for all 3 projects in the fall, and as well as a ribbon cutting for Lyseth.
So
just
Can we pause for just a moment?
absolutely.
See if there's any questions on Longfellow.
So just on the groundbreaking, that's the groundbreaking ceremony, but the actual work will have started.
Correct.
Any questions before we move on, anyone? Okay. Go ahead, Aura.
Thank you. So, Superintendent, that means, or the team too, there wasn't any time change about groundbreaking, like that hasn't been put off. That was really just about the
Correct. The ceremony itself.
Okay.
We celebrate the start of construction.
Okay,
That's
great.
why I wanted to
Yeah,
ask a question, because I didn't want anybody thinking that we had pushed.
off schedule. Okay, great. Thanks.
Important clarification. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
All right. So next slide, Mark. I think, Mark, you're going to take us through.
Yeah, I'll do Reiche, and then Lisa can wrap it up with Presumpscot here, I think. So for Reiche, we're in the middle of the bid phase right now. And so the advertisement started about 3 weeks ago here, April 27th. That's when we notified interested contractors that the project was available to bid on. We conducted the pre-bid walkthrough this past week. So we had it on May 18th. So we had contractors show up. We had, I believe it was 4 general contractors of the, from our pre-qualified list of general contractors, we had 4 show up to show an interest in it. We're getting questions and comments daily, which means they're digging in, and the general contractors and the subcontractors are looking at that as they price out the project. So that's helpful and important to know. And the bid opening is scheduled at this point for June 3rd at 3 o'clock. So it's coming right up. And so right now we're issuing clarification of questions that come up through the addendum process. The planning board hearing took place on May 11th. And so we're through the planning board process, but we're also the first, we had a public meeting with the historic preservation or historic review board last evening, and we have some questions and comments that came up from that process that we're working through to get them responses to that. So they had some questions on the use of materials and how they're compatible with the area, and mostly questions around materiality that we're using, and so those are questions that we're pulling a response together and get that to them, and continue that with that process. And we'll start planning the fall groundbreaking, just like we talked about with Longfellow, but we'll do it, want to recognize Reiche's groundbreaking as well. So kind of an update with that. We're kind of right in the thick of the bidding for the project right now. So I'll pause. I think that's what we have. I don't know if there's any other slide on this one, so I'll pause right now.
I will just add that the 4 contractors that showed up, to put it in perspective, 3 showed up to Longfellow and all 3 bid. One of the contractors that showed up at Reiche is the contractor who is working on Longfellow. So Blaine Casey did show up to the pre-bid walkthrough. We don't know whether all 4 will bid, but it's really encouraging to know that 4 of them showed up and are actively asking questions. So that is a good sign.
Great. Thank you.
Maybe I'll share a funny story. Sorry.
Oh.
Other people.
Okay, I was just going to go to Jeff. Go ahead, Emily, and then I'll go to the people.
I'll share my funny story, which is I was actually I ran by and the folks that had come for the walkthrough and figured out I was like literally running. Just happened to be during the time when during the walkthrough, and I saw all the people, and it gave me a much faster stride as I finished my run. So
you probably hear me yelling over all the trucks that are driving by.
Thank you. Going to Jess Marino.
I just have a question about the historic review board. Do they have to approve something, or is this just like something that you do as part of the process? Like, could they say, no, you can't use those materials because of the, historic neighborhood, or?
Yeah, it's oftentimes more of a negotiation with them, but yeah, they have purview over this because it's in a regulated district. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Board Member Russell Better.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wondered, this is just a question for Harriman about whether a firm bidding on 2 of our schools, like are there, or, having the projects? Are there challenges, benefits to that? Like, I was just thinking about the timing of projects, but also kind of knowing something about our schools. And so just wondered if there's any opinion about that.
Yeah, there's potentially both, depending on the contractor's ability to manage. There are efficiencies they could potentially gain from it. If they have a subcontractor that's doing work on one, and as soon as they're done, they can shift them over to another one. So the availability of getting contractors and resources could be beneficial if it was the same general contractor that's working with both of them. Okay. The challenge, though, is that means it's more work for them to manage, and so they really have to be on their game, and otherwise they're going to overextend themselves and find themselves getting behind. So it's a resource aspect with the contractor, and so that's something that we'll be very careful to watch as we continue to see. If the bid comes in and is successful, we'll have to really carefully monitor that with them.
Okay, so when they do the bid, would anything about those efficiencies be clear at that point, or it's not until later on?
The potential efficiencies would come into play in that they may be able to reduce their price because they have been able to gain that. That's ultimately what they would be doing, is looking to see how they can produce a lower, more competitive bid by exercising those efficiencies. So if they are the lowest and successful, they still have to be able to bond themselves for the project, and so that's the protection that is built into the process, that they have to be able to do that amount of work, be bonded to do that amount of work.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like that will become clear if that situation arises.
Absolutely.
Over time. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Okay. Go ahead, Mark. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, Presumpscot. So Presumpscot is on its way out to bid here very shortly. The advertisement date for Presumpscot will be May 27th. The pre-bid walkthrough will be scheduled for June 8th. And the bid opening is scheduled to be June 24th at 3 p.m. We've had a few meetings with Principal Angie Taylor and reviewed the phasing and moving plans and answered questions about logistics. And the public hearing with the planning board took place on May 11th. We have a little bit more simple phasing plan at Presumpscot, just because most of the work is in the additions and not necessarily renovations. But we look forward to working with the BLAC from Presumpscot, as well as all of you, and planning their groundbreaking this fall as well.
Great. Thank you. Any questions on Presumpscot? Okay, next slide.
Can I just say something on the Presumpscot? It's I just back to the dates. The bid opening on this one is not until June 24th, so it is the only one that we are nervous about our ability to get a contract signed by the board in time. So that's the one thing that I just wanted to highlight, that one is very close to the date. If there's no need for significant modifications to the scope, I think we will have a special board meeting on the week of the 30th, and we should be able to go with that. But if not, we may have to push into July for something.
For a quick meeting, yeah. Okay, thank you. Board member Russell Better, did you have an additional?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify whether, like emergency, if usually July isn't a month for meeting. So would that? But it sounds like that's not a big deal, Superintendent, to have a meeting out of necessity for timing in July.
It'd be an on and off. Yeah, we've done that before.
It's not. There's no prohibition against it. It obviously scheduling. It's going to be a scheduling challenge.
Okay, but it sounds like if the timing is really necessary to not wait, I was just hoping we didn't have to wait till August because we don't meet. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything further? Okay, next slide.
So just the dates as we look at the bid schedule, this is kind of the summary of what those dates are. And so with Longfellow, kind of bids are received and underway. We are in the Reiche schedule right now, bid schedule, and then we'll move to Presumpscot. So just a summary of what those are. And we kind of covered, I think, most of those, but this summarizes those. Okay. And then finally, our next series of BLAC meetings will be next week on Thursday evening. So we'll do the rotation from 5:30 for Presumpscot, 6:30 for Reiche, and 7:30 for Longfellow. And then this group, again, we talked about our next meeting being on the 17th with hopefully a tour of Lyseth. It's pretty exciting.
And that particular meeting will also invite the Lyseth Building Level Advisory Committee. Are there any questions on anything that's not on the agenda or something that you've thought of since we finished up that you've been dying to ask? Okay. So real quick, so it was a 21-minute meeting. So any...
Okay, there's one question, Sarah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see. Let me look. Hold on. Oh, Aura, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's just my dying to ask about the, so it sounds like there's a couple. What did you just mention, Chair, about walking through, or maybe Harriman did, sorry. Was there something about a walking through? Was that?
Yeah, the tour of Lyseth. So
okay, so that's my question, is about the actually in-person seeing, like kind of, I'm just curious, I mean, is that our PPS policy, or is this kind of through the building? I'm just curious where we're at about any community members being able to be in buildings related to the projects. So this is an in-person happening.
No, the reason it's June 17th is because we will be done with school, our commitment, memorandum of agreement with our Teachers Association that keeps us from having people from outside the building come in. And so we intend to keep that the way it is through the end of the school year.
Okay.
And so June 17th is after that time.
Okay, great. So at that point, if there are opportunities in the summer to be able to, that have to do with the projects to be in the buildings, that's different than during the school year one.
I mean, we've had people working in buildings, and essential staff can go into buildings, but not visitors. And so that's
right.
So, I mean, you know, Lyseth has had people working in Lyseth the entire, school year. So.
Yes, but as far as like in instances with the buildings, like I had the impression that we wouldn't have been able to go inside the buildings, and okay. But in the summer, that is an opportunity when school is not in
After
session.
School is out, yes.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
And daily we're watching the mask rules change. Okay. Anything else before we close out? Well, thank you all very much for being with us this evening. And I know Lisa and Mark have another meeting, and so we got you off 5 minutes before you needed to leave.
More than we could have asked for. Thank you very, very much.
So we are adjourned at 6:24, and we'll see you all on June 17th. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you all very much.